Good afternoon again, weirdos. I'm Ryan, one half of Full Dark Paranormal Explorers, and I'm here today with another crazy tale from my past. You might have heard the Woman Without a Face, the Ghost Woman Without a Face video previously. This one is a completely different subject, but I promise you it's just as strange and just as unexplainable. It kind of has forged me as an investigator and everything that I do from the point in which these things happen to now. It all goes back to something to do with these two stories. But this one goes back a long way to when I was about 6 years old. And as I stated before, I grew up in northwest Wisconsin. And at that time of my life, my mother and my father and I, we lived with my grandmother way out in the country, and the driveway itself was probably 3/4 of a mile long. I remember getting off the school bus in kindergarten and having to walk. It seemed like forever. Maybe it wasn't that long. I don't know. I was 6. But that house, it had a lot of energy, and I was way too young at the time to really process it. Later on, thinking back, it's like, wow, that was a weird place. I wish I would have been a little bit older. My grandmother was, to honor her legacy, I don't want to say too much, but she was definitely into the paranormal and the occult in her way, and psychic readings and such. She was just very in tune to the other side, so I had that as a constant influence in my life. But anyways, getting to the story here. So we don't get too into aliens and UFOs and that kind of thing on this channel, which I don't know why. It's great, it's awesome. It's just harder to go out and look for and expect any sort of result. But some might argue, maybe not. Maybe it's not that hard. We have done a little bit, and this kind of ties into that. So if you're into extraterrestrials and all that stuff, you're going to find this very fascinating. And those of you that were on a Paranormal Truth live stream might have heard a part of this story when I called in to tell the guys about it. I got cut off when they wanted to ask me questions, which I was totally there to answer. Some of you might have heard it, some of our UK friends and such. But so, when I was 6, we used to go to a local racetrack every weekend on Saturday night, my mother, my father, and I, and we were returning home from that one Saturday night, and I know it was a Saturday night, so therefore I know that it was in the summer sometime. As all these things kind of tie together, and I know it had to be 1985, because I was 6. I know I was 6. So, summer 1985, northwest Wisconsin. We were returning home, and we drove down that long driveway, and I was sitting in between my parents. We had an old Chevy Malibu. It was kind of a bronze color, and had the big bench seat in front, so I was sitting smack dab in between my mother and father. As we approached the house and got through the wooded trail, we saw this just enormous white light just illuminating the entire forest. It was basically like spotlights, floodlights, whatever. And the house was completely silhouetted. And we continued to approach. And I wish I could remember more of what it was said, but, I'm 6 at the time. But I do remember one thing that was said. When we stopped the car in the driveway, both my parents got out simultaneously, and my father was like, "Stay here," pointed down at me. "You stay here." I'm like, okay. And I wasn't scared, I don't remember fear. I remember curiosity. So they went running around the back of the house where the light was coming from. And behind the house, it was right on a river. It's called the Yellow River. There's a little bit of distance, maybe, a football field from the back door of the house to the river. Of course, I didn't stay there. As soon as they disappeared around the side of the house, I opened up the passenger door and hopped out and scuttled my little butt over there. And I peek around the corner of the house and I look out at the river and I see a spacecraft. It's a disc shape with like a dome on top and then kind of a cone on the bottom. And what was really interesting about that is coming out of the bottom was a stream of light, and I could see fish like kind of twirling up this light. Whatever, I remember seeing that. I look over at my family, who's all in a line, my grandmother, my aunt, my mom and dad, all standing there just staring at it, almost transfixed. They didn't see me. I was hiding. I was around the corner, like staring around the corner at them and at that. At first I looked at the craft, then I looked at them. I looked at the craft again, and that thing was just silently gone, like the speed of light, just so fast. It left a little tiny trail as it went away of light. And boy, do I wish I could remember what happened after that. I do not remember what happened after that at all. It's completely blank. But I remember that it happened. I stored it for a long time, and I've been told stories of extraterrestrials and their interactions with members of my family for my entire life. And I don't disbelieve or believe either. It's kind of, I didn't see it for myself, but I did see this. So many years went by, and I asked my father about it about 10 years ago. My father is not a paranormal guy necessarily. He's a man of few words. I asked him about it, and all he said to me was, "We don't talk about that, Ryan." Okay, I left that alone. I'd love to talk to him about it again. So I'm unclear whether he remembers or doesn't remember. One would think you'd remember something like this. But just recently, before I decided, okay, I'll tell this story. I know it sounds fantastical and like, wow, here's Ryan again with another one. I made sure that I asked my mother about it, which I haven't ever in my life, And she more or less confirmed, yeah. But that was like by far not the only instance of that. It was just maybe the only instance that I saw, which blew my mind. I don't know. I saw that thing. I could draw it. I did draw it for Amy recently, and I can't find it. But I could draw it again, what I saw. And it's, your garden variety disc-shaped UFO, which was pretty amazing. It had some lights going on. It had a portion of it that was rotating. Some near the center seam of it all. There was a rotating light bar, if you will, that kept coming around. It was amazing. I would love to see something like that again. Maybe someday. You never know when they're going to show up. I do know, and have researched a little bit since all of that and throughout my life, that northwest Wisconsin, very sparse area population-wise, and alarmingly high reports of UFO sightings and possible abductions and whatnot. So very cool and a little bit chilling. But that's my story, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'll be there to answer what I can to the best of my knowledge. I'm sure you will have questions. Dale and Justin from Paranormal Truth couldn't wait to ask questions. Just the connection got cut off, unfortunately. So I'll be there for that, but don't forget to like, subscribe. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up this year. We're kind of easing our way into 2022 right now. It's, the times we're in right now. It's really tough to go out and be around a bunch of people. So, but things are looking up, and that's the positive part. And we'll be there to bring more weirdness as it happens. Appreciate you guys checking this out and checking out everything else. And we'll see you on the next one. Stay weird.